London, 1888. The fog is thick, the gas lamps barely cut through the dark, and somewhere in the shadows a figure moves silently. A woman screams, and then silence. This is not a ghost story. This is history, the beginning of a mystery that has haunted the world for over a century. His name, Jack the Ripper. He was never caught, never identified. He simply vanished, leaving behind a trail of blood and fear. But who was Jack the Ripper? A madman? A doctor? A royal? Or something even darker? Before we dive into this chilling story, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We explore the darkest corners of true crime and unsolved history every single week. Now, let's begin. Between August and November of 1888, 5 women were found brutally murdered in the Whitechapel district of London. Their names were Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. They were poor, most were homeless, some worked as prostitutes. They lived in a cruel world and died in horrifying ways. These were not random killings, they were methodical, calculated. The killer mutilated his victims with a level of precision that shocked even the most hardened detectives. Some believed he had medical training, others thought he was a butcher. But one thing was certain. This was no ordinary murderer. Scotland Yard launched a massive investigation. Over 2,000 people were interviewed, hundreds were detained, but no one was ever charged. Then came the letters. One of them began with 2 chilling words, "Dear Boss." It was signed, Jack the Ripper. From that moment, the killer had a name that would echo through history. The letters were cruel. Some mocked the police. One even arrived with half a human kidney, supposedly taken from one of the victims. Were they real or twisted hoaxes? No one knows for sure. The public was terrified. The press had a field day, and the East End of London was paralyzed by fear. But while the killer became infamous, his victims became headlines, and then footnotes. Let's remember their names again. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. 5 women, each with a life, a past, and a story. They deserve more than to be remembered only for how they died. Now, let's talk about the suspects. Over the years, more than 100 names have been put forward. Here are some of the most compelling. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish barber with a history of mental illness. He was institutionalized after the murders. In 2014, a piece of DNA evidence suggested he might be the killer, but the evidence was controversial and possibly contaminated. Montague Druitt, a school teacher and barrister who died by suicide shortly after the last murder. Some believe his death was a confession in disguise. Walter Sickert, a famous painter obsessed with death and violence. He painted disturbing images, and some claim he knew details only the killer could have known. Prince Albert Victor, the grandson of Queen Victoria. A wild theory suggests the royal family covered up his involvement in the murders to protect the crown. And then the most surprising theory of all. What if Jack the Ripper was a woman? A midwife could walk the streets covered in blood and raise no suspicion. No one would question it. Could Jack have actually been Jill? None of these theories have been proven. None have been ruled out. Modern science has tried to crack the case. Forensic experts have reanalyzed the evidence. DNA has been tested. Geographic profiling has been used. Artificial intelligence has even taken a shot. But every time the same result. No one knows who Jack the Ripper really was. His legacy, though, is impossible to ignore. He changed the way we investigate crime. He shaped how media reports on violence. He created an image, the faceless killer lurking in the shadows, that still appears in films, books, and nightmares. Whitechapel, once a poor and forgotten corner of London, is now a site of dark tourism. People still walk those streets, imagining the horrors that happened there more than a century ago. So what really happened? Did Jack the Ripper stop killing? Or did he move on, finding victims in other cities, other countries? Was he a madman consumed by rage, a mastermind who vanished into history, or simply a product of a violent and broken society? We may never know. And maybe that's what makes this story so terrifying. Not just the murders, but the silence that followed. If you've watched this far, thank you. If this story fascinated you, disturbed you, or left you with more questions than answers, then hit the like button and subscribe. We have more real-life mysteries coming your way soon. But before you go, tell us in the comments, who do you think was Jack the Ripper? We'll feature the most interesting theories in a future video. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some monsters wear no mask. They just disappear into the fog.